Hello, I am Brett Knowles from the Risk Scorecard Network. This YouTube walks you through the starter program, Strategic Risk Management in just 60 days. We'll outline the best practices we've established over hundreds of clients in helping organizations go from no risk management system at all to an implemented and operational strategic management system in just a number of weeks. The program has a number of steps. First, we need to capture your strategic priorities from your existing strategy documents. From there, your leadership team will help assess the risk by risk category, which will allow the operational side of the organization to respond to those imperatives with the specific risks. From there, we can build their strategic risk profile based on those risks. When we add in measures from your existing metrics structures, we can then implement your strategic risk management solution. To drill into this in a bit more detail, let's walk through this step by step. During the first week, we're going to build out your existing strategy into what's probably going to look like a strategy map where we outline your strategic objectives and their cause and effect relationship. Working with a leadership team, we'll understand the strategic priorities over the next year. Week 2 sees us establishing the appropriate risk breakdown structure, whether it's COSO, ISO, ITIL, etc. And from there, with your senior leadership team, assessing the risk impact and likelihood for each risk category against your strategic objectives. And this will allow us to understand your overall strategic risk profile. From there, the operational part of the organization should be able to respond to that risk profile by surfacing the specific risk elements which contribute to those risks by category. And we can make sure that we've got adequate coverage across all risk categories. During weeks 4 and 5, we can then build out the assessment of each of those risk elements for likelihood and impact, and when we combine that with the strategic priorities, we can begin to generate your strategic risk assessment. We can then add in performance metrics in 3 broad categories: KRIs, or key risk indicators, that show whether risky activities are occurring; CEIs, or control effectiveness indicators, that measure the effectiveness, appropriateness, and implementation usage of your controls; and finally, overall KPIs, which allow us to see overall performance. And then finally, in weeks 8 and 9, we can use that structure to build customized reports by stakeholder, and also build the appropriate accountability and reporting cycles, and of course, launch. Now, to show this to you in a more visual format, it could look like this. Capturing strategic priorities is in something like a strategy map where we see the objectives, their priorities, and their cause and effect relationships. From there, we'll list those strategic objectives and weightings down the left, your risk categories across the top, and begin to understand the impact and likelihood of each of those risk categories and your overall risk category profile, which will help us understand which risk categories are contributing the most to your risk and which strategic objectives are most at risk. Using that, your organization can now identify the specific risks associated with those categories and provide a level of scoring to ensure that we have adequate coverage. In fact, building that risk profile allows us to take a look at each of those identified risks against those strategic objectives and assess them for likelihood and impact in order to present a number of report formats that allow us to begin to take a look at where those risks are occurring in your organization. From there, we can begin adding in metrics, again, whether they're KRIs, CEIs, or KPIs, to begin gaining visibility of the risk environment. From there, we can then create a number of different reports, whether those are detailed operational reports, consolidated for mid-level managers, very summary reports for the board and the leadership team, and also different formats for showing the results to allow organizations to understand which risks are most in need of senior management attention and which risks are under control. And of course, we can watch these dots move over time, month on month or quarter on quarter, based on the actual performance, and link this back to strategy, scenario planning, accountability, and so forth. So again, the structure for building this is fairly straightforward. You can do it either with our assistance or through our self-paced online tools to help you develop this strategy solution quickly and effectively that brings strategy, risk, and measures into the same tool. Now, most organizations have a difficult time starting with risk because many senior leadership teams have not been exposed to best practices. So we urge you to give us a call. We're more than happy to have a conversation with you or even set up a WebEx to show you industry or function similar situations to allow you to understand and better visualize what that starting point might look like. Or if you'd like to self-learn, please go to riskscorecard.net.